Okay, I'll cut the music off before we get done for copyright or something, and we'll make a start. So, like I say, it's been 3 weeks since the last one of these, which feels like quite a long time, and there's a lot to go through. We've had a huge amount going on with the gear token drop. We have the avatar drop. We've got the avatars leveling up. We've been working on the comic. We've been working on cities and game mechanics and tokenomics and all kinds. So, as always, I thought I would just start by going through what we've been working on in a little bit of detail, talk you through some things, and then we've got a load of questions as well. So, let's get started. So, first thing, let's look back over the last few weeks and see, just do a bit of a refresh and a reset on what we've been up to. So, first thing, gear and level 2 avatars. Like, there's no hiding from it. We were very late on that, more late than we wanted to be. It wasn't terrible, I wouldn't say, personally, but it wasn't great either, and a lot of it couldn't be avoided. Like, you can't avoid somebody being sick and in the hospital, so that was a big reason that we ended up being so late. It wasn't great, but again, the amount of support and the flexibility that you all showed was massive and made things way less stressful than they could have been. So it was stressful. It was quite painful at times, but we managed to get the launch done, and happily the launch was a success. So we dropped the gear token. There were a couple of small issues. I think in the dev diary you'll see that we had 2 known issues after something like 12 hours of dropping, one of which was some gear tokens weren't able to be minted from certain numbers of multipasses. And that was because of a back-end system. So the way that things work is that we have a few systems, but one of them tracks ownership of the various NFTs that we produce. So on the back end, that's all tracked, and then that allows the front end of the site to allow you to take different actions. Now, what had happened was, for whatever reason, there was a cache and a database that wasn't quite in sync, and it meant that a couple of things dropped out. So what we found was some of the earlier numbers of multipass, for some reason, weren't in that back end process, which meant that when you tried to use your multipass to mint a gear token, you couldn't do it. So we had to kind of basically just reset things, manually refresh the database, manually refresh the cache, and then everything kicked back in. So not terrible. We had probably 12, 16 hours of that being an issue. And then we managed to get it fixed, and off we went. The other really small issue, in theory, the really small issue was that you couldn't mint an avatar from the Oracle page on the website, because when you selected the multipasses that you wanted to use, the button didn't change from grayed out to pink, which is a tiny little issue, but has quite a big effect. So, it was a tiny bit of JavaScript that just wasn't working properly. We had a workaround, which meant that you went to /avatars instead of /the Oracle, and then within 12, 16 hours again, we managed to fix that. So overall, yes, we were late, but we didn't have any contract issues. We didn't have anybody unable to kind of mint because of a failed transaction. So we weren't costing anybody gas or anything like that. We just had a couple of kind of minor issues on our system. So overall, pretty successful, even if it was a bit slow. Moving on from there, things that we've been working on. So firstly, the comic. Creative is done. We're really happy with it. We've gone through a couple of iterations. The main changes were to do with the dialogue, which I think I mentioned on the last AMA. So we weren't quite happy with the amount of dialogue that was in the comic. We kind of did a bit of a reset, refreshed some of the dialogue that goes on with different characters, did some updates and dropped some more in so that the storyline flows a bit better, and we're really happy with the result. So the next step for us now, which we're working on at the moment, is finalising the contract and changing the claim process slightly. So this has been mentioned in Discord. Instead, the original plan was that with the comic, we were going to only allow holders of multipass to mint the comic. What we're going to do instead, because we've moved on to level 2, and the original plan was that we would drop the comics somewhere around the end of December, start of January. Because we're end of January, start of February, it means that more people have minted an avatar, and it doesn't really feel fair to penalise you for that. So what we're going to do is allow anybody who has minted an avatar up to the date that the comic drops to mint a comic. So it will mean that we don't get duplication, so you can't kind of claim it against your multipass, then mint an avatar, and then claim it and get another comic. I'm not sure you'd want to anyway, but I'm sure somebody would. We're going to make sure that doesn't happen. But yeah, we're going to allow anybody with either an avatar or a multipass to get the comic. That will be a gas-only claim. It will be obviously added into your wallet, into your OpenSea account. I also need to give a shout out to QuadraQ. He mentioned something on Discord the other day, which was an example of another project that had dropped I think it was more of a story, more of a book, that you could actually read on OpenSea by flicking through the pages. He mentioned that. We dug into it a bit, worked out how they've done it, and we're going to do the same thing with the comic, which is kind of a cool little extra, but also like we're really, really pleased with the creative, and we're really pleased with the outcome of this comic. So if people can actually see it on OpenSea and flick through it, hopefully that will mean they're more likely to want to buy it on the secondary as well, and it might get some more people into the project if they can see what we're doing. So yeah, nice little addition, only a little one, but yeah, again, thank you to QuadraQ. Next up, I have 4 things to give you actually 3 things to give you an update on. So firstly, avatars. There's been quite a lot of questions, and I know there's a question in a little while about this specifically, but there's been a lot of talk about this on Discord. We're going to make some changes to the avatars, particularly at level 1. So there's 3 key things that we've noticed, 2 of which are kind of general. So color combinations. When you think cyberpunk, you probably don't think pop art style color combos, and what we've found is that because of the way the randomization works when we're creating these avatars, sometimes you get color combinations that are just too over the top. There's too much going on, so you kind of have bright colors and bright patterns and all of this kind of color just thrown at you, which means that the core of the characters, we think, are being diluted a little. So we're going to spend a bit of time just kind of stripping those colours back a little bit. Also, we've noticed that some assets just don't work on certain characters. There's some mouths, for example, that we don't think works on the likes of JJ and DGen, and I'll come back to those 2 in a second. Other assets that just don't kind of fit with certain characters. So we are going through the process of working out which ones those are and working out how we could either swap them out or strip them back a little bit. Finally, there's some character-specific changes. So you'll notice that the guy in the suit, Sirius, was meant to be dropped at level 2. He obviously hasn't appeared. He's going to be dropped at level 3. And there's a couple of reasons for that. We weren't quite happy with all the different combinations. Color was a big part of this. Also facially, Ohura's done a great job, and he's waiting for some feedback as well. I can see that he's online, so he's probably listening to this. He's done a great job of starting to refresh some of his kind of look and feel with Sirius as well. So a bit of work to do there, but Sirius will be dropped at level 3. There is another reason that we've stripped that back as well, which I'll come on to in a second. But also with the likes of JJ and DGen. So JJ, I know there's a question on this in a while with his shoulder. DGen as well, like proper alpha male. We don't think that he is always proper alpha male at the moment. So we're working on those 2 specifically to give them a bit of a refresh and make them the characters that we really wanted them to be. Now, this follows into a question that's asked in a little while, but what it means is that we will do those updates. We will refresh the images and then refresh the metadata. So your NFTs will change. There's quite a lot of work involved in doing that, but we think it's the right thing to do. And it will mean that overall, as we move into or past level 2, into level 3 and level 4, we have a far better base from which to work. So we think it's worth the time. We think it's worth the effort. It will give us a better outcome overall. And it sets everything up in a more positive way. So yeah, we're working through that at the moment. The other things that we're working on are tokenomics. So a huge amount of work has been done there. I've got to say a big kind of shout out to Vortex as well. He's been a massive help over the last couple of weeks, making sure that we were able to work through that. Like tying everything together. There's been a plan and an outline for a while, but actually drilling down into the detail as we go through the development of this has been hard work because we're tying a lot of different stuff together. So yeah, a lot of time and effort spent, and again, Vortex has been a massive help. So thanks, dude. Next up, cities. Production for that is well in progress. This is, there's very often questions about kind of what are the biggest risks and things that you're worried about. City production is 100% the biggest worry and the biggest risk at the moment. To create what we want to the quality that we want with a number of assets and tying in things like different levels of building, that is a massive challenge. And we are working as quickly and as efficiently and as hard as we possibly can. But if there's anything that's going to slow things down as far as a launch goes, cities and the actual NFTs and the 3D that sits behind those, that's our biggest risk right now. That isn't me setting things up to say, oh, guys, we're going to be late again. Absolutely not at all. We will set timelines as soon as we feel comfortable and confident with those. As always, we think the most important thing is that we do the best possible job and get the best possible designs out. But yeah, like I say, the production is ongoing. A big thank you to Twicky for the work on that as well. She's done an amazing job of just kind of pushing everything forward, making sure that everything's properly managed, looking at the creative, making sure that everything is as good as it can be. So yeah, huge thank you to her. Okay, I think that covers everything. Oh, yeah, so I talked about avatars a second ago. One of the reasons that we are stripping the characters back a little bit, and this again, I'm talking about this guy all the time. So QuadraQ mentioned on the last AMA about 3D avatars. I'm not going to say that we are going to do 3D avatars, but what we are trying to do is to make sure that if in the future we get to that point where we actually want to roll those out, we don't want to have too many assets and too many characters, which makes it firstly not viable from a time point of view, and secondly not viable purely from a financial point of view, because creating the number of assets and avatars that we have in 3D would be a huge undertaking. So it's pretty likely that we're going to reduce the overall number of characters, firstly to make sure that we can get the quality with the 2D art, but also to make sure that if we do get to the point of being able to and wanting to do 3D, that we're able to do it without having to wait like 18 months and spend $1 million just to get some 3D avatars done. So yeah, we're not saying we are going to do it, but personally, I'm not going to lie, I would absolutely love to produce 3D avatars of what we have. Is it possible? I don't know. Yes, it's possible. Will we get to that point? I really hope so, but it's not 100% guaranteed. So we'll see how things work out over the next few weeks and months. All right, I'm going to have a little sip of I haven't got tea tonight. I've got something alcoholic, which is even better. I'll have a sip of that, and then we'll move on to the questions. Okay, first one, straight into the serious questions from Vortex. Would you rather be half your height or double your weight? Now, I've thought about this a lot. He mentioned this last week to somebody else, somewhere else. I think it was in our Discord, but I've definitely seen him mention it, maybe even in person, or remember him mentioning it even in person. And sitting in the car or having a shower, it's the kind of question that keeps me awake at night. So I think that I would probably rather be... Thing is, I'm not the biggest guy in the world, but if I got to like 20... I'm going to say 23 stone, but I'm probably a bit heavier now as I get older. So like 23, 24 stone gives me half a chance of dying a bit earlier. But would I rather be, because I'm 5'11", so would I rather be 2.5 foot, 3 foot? No, I think probably double my weight, because like you can never change your height. You can't stretch yourself. But I suppose you could do some work to lose the weight that you've added. So I'm going to say double my weight, and I've rambled through that question and I've thought about it a lot, and I still don't know what the right answer is, but we're going to go with double your weight. Next, probably more importantly, CryptoButt. Will long-term holders be one day rewarded? Do you have enough funding to fulfill the promises that you made? I'm kind of expanding the questions a little bit. So, I mean, from a reward point of view, we have already fulfilled the first and nearly second phases of the roadmap that we set out. So yes, it's taken a little bit longer, maybe a month or so, but we're already fulfilling the promises that we made at the start of this. Now, I remember sitting there on an AMA at a ridiculous time at night when we started rolling out this project, and saying that phase 3 was always going to be, firstly, the most important, secondly, the most fun, and thirdly, the most difficult. Like that hasn't changed. So we are moving into phase 3 now. So yes, we have the funding to fulfill phase 3. That's easier to read than it is to say. And yes, we are going to reward you by making sure that we get through phase 3. Will the project be 100% success? We don't know. Nobody knows. Like we're building a project and we're doing the best that we possibly can to make it the best possible project that it can be. So yeah, we're very, very committed, very, very kind of pleased with how things have gone so far. We've got a great community. Like the fact that we're so far through and still doing these AMAs and still having so many people turn up and ask questions is amazing. So that's not going to change. And yeah, hopefully for all of us, things are a massive success, and we can look back on this in 5 or 10 years' time and be really proud. I already think we should be, and I think, if you've bought into this project, hopefully you can see that we're not the kind of people who are just going to kind of overpromise and underdeliver. We've always been completely committed to this. So yeah, so far I think we're doing all right. Next up, Gabe's 0311. Schedule for February. Oh God, I just pretty much work 24/7 is my schedule for February. Aside from that, though, comic very soon. Like I say, working through the contracts, we will kind of pick and choose a time to drop that to fit in with hopefully like gas being a bit low. We want to fill the gap as well because we've had avatars and gear tokens rolled out. So yeah, like the next thing is comic. We are in, like I say, a massive production cycle, and we have a few kind of little plans aside from cities as well, which means that you will start to see elements of the blockchain game side of things roll out soon. I've always been really careful to say that we are aiming for February. I'm not going to promise it. We are still aiming for February for at least part of that, but I'm not 100% going to promise it because it has to be right. So yeah, we're around and we're working through everything, and you're starting to see things happen, obviously with gear and comic and so on. But yeah, like February is a huge month for us. Alex and Oslo, based on your vision in the beginning, are you still aligned with it, or have you made some changes? The overall vision we are definitely still aligned with, but the space has changed since we started this project. So yes, we've made some changes. The way that we roll out the game will be different to how I imagined it at the start of this journey. The way that we have rolled out the comic is probably slightly different. The kind of overall vision of we would love to do 3D at some point in the future. I think the first time I was asked that question, it was an absolute no, and now it's a God, I'd love to. So yes, things have changed. The vision has changed slightly, but overall, our kind of aims and goals for what we want to achieve are very, very similar to what they were on day one. So yeah, we tweak things because we're in the NFT space and things change quite quickly. But overall, the kind of overarching vision is pretty similar to what it was. Shamagil, will the team dox themselves? And if not, can you explain why? I personally feel that a dox team gives new and old community investors more confidence. I know this was briefly talked about in an AMA, but are you considering doxing the team? The answer is still maybe. The reason is, and I'll be 100% honest about this, there is another business that means that right now I can't, with kind of full confidence that it won't affect other things, I can't dox myself. There's some stuff going on there that needs to kind of be seen through. If and when that happens, and I would expect that to happen relatively soon, I would now personally have no issue with doxing myself at all. And I've spoken to Twicky about this, and I've spoken to Ohora as well. Not so sure about Vortex. I don't think we've had that conversation, but I know me, Twicky, and Ohora have had that conversation, and we would all be happy at the right time to do that. So we're not avoiding it, but there is, like I say, something else that just means that I can't right now. To be honest with you, when we started this, I probably was erring to the side of I don't really want to do it. as time has gone on, I've moved more to, it would just make life so much easier to be able to talk completely openly and for people to know exactly who I am so we can have kind of more open conversations. So yeah, I would love to do it at some point, but this other business and the stuff that kind of comes alongside that, there's a few things that needs to happen first. So yeah, hopefully. And then we have this is written in the document, a very long set of questions from Zythus. So bear with me. I think there's probably at least 10 bullet points here, so it might take a little while to get through them. Okay, so when you said that level 1 avatars might receive a visual update, I realised I didn't actually know how NFTs work. Horror face. So after a bit of reading, what did I actually buy? The art or just a contract? You bought a multipass at its core. You bought a multipass and the artwork that sits alongside that. What multipass then allows you to do is claim other NFTs. So when you claim an NFT, you own the contract, or you own the output of that contract. And obviously there's the artwork that sits alongside it. So there's the artwork that comes with multipass. There's the artwork that comes with the avatars. There's the artwork that comes with the gear token. So who owns the art and licensing? Now, this is one gap that we do have, and it is something that we do need to fill. So from our point of view, your avatar is your avatar, and you can do whatever you want with the art in forever. Until you then sell that NFT or sell that avatar, and then that moves to whoever then owns it. So you can do whatever you want with that. If you want to put it on a t-shirt and sell it, then fine, do it. We are absolutely happy with that. And that won't change. You don't own any IP that sits with Awakened, so you don't own the logo or the Awakened name or anything like that, but you own the artwork that sits behind your avatar, and we do need to plug that gap. So this is a good reminder that we need to fix that, so that there's something on the site or something legally in place that tells you that is what's happened. Next question: what would happen to my NFTs if the team, for whatever reasons, abandons the project? They'd still exist. So the way that the image storage is done is decentralized, so they would still exist, and they're still yours. What would happen is that some of the back end, so if we just completely disappeared tomorrow, so we ceased to exist and the whole of the kind of our systems ceased to exist, multipass would stop leveling up, because that is done off-chain, and that's done through our server processes. There'd obviously be some other stuff that isn't available as well, so you couldn't, apply a gear token to your avatar, and you couldn't mint a new avatar because that links into our website. So there's a lot of stuff that would stop working. But ultimately, if you own the NFT, then that would carry on existing. Next question. Do I assume right that the team has the abilities to alter the NFT, art and utility at will? Yes, we do, and that is true for the vast majority of other projects as well. So it's something to keep in mind. And if you look on OpenSea, there's the option to freeze metadata, which means that then the NFT can't be changed. But for the most part, there is a mixture of projects that have utility that have things that happen on chain and things that happen off chain, and different projects have a different balance of how they treat that. For us, there is a lot that happens and is built into the contract on chain, but there's also, because we're moving into having essentially a game, there's a huge amount that happens off chain as well. So there is a balance there, which leads nicely onto your next question. So, could I be excluded from the game? My NFTs marked as being untradeable, or even worse, one day wake up and stare at a bunch of goats. So yes, you could be excluded from the game. To do a lot of the stuff that you will want to do, you will need to log into our website. So yes, in theory, we could exclude you. Having said that, when it comes to things like storage of your tokens, that happens within your wallet. So once you have them, they are yours. So there's, again, this balance between things that you do off-chain and things that you do on-chain. Could your NFTs be marked as being untradeable? So in theory, kind of. So on OpenSea, we see with Bored Ape as a great example. So if a Bored Ape is stolen, then it's marked on OpenSea as being stolen and therefore untradeable. That can happen with any NFT. Having said that, if that NFT sits in your wallet, that all that means is that you can't trade it on OpenSea. So I don't think there is a way, and I'm questioning myself just so I know that I'm telling you the truth, I don't think that there is a way that we could stop you from being able to transfer your avatar or your gear token or your multipass from your wallet to another one. The only question mark that I have over that is that multipass is an upgradable ERC 1155, which means that we can make changes to it, which we had to do because of the extra utility that sits around it. So in theory, we could probably run a contract upgrade that would essentially mark multipass as unusable, and we could probably pin that to a single multipass if we really wanted to. Like, we're not going to do it, but I want to make sure that I'm giving you the truth and a truthful answer with this. So, yeah, I think in theory, I've never thought about this before now, but in theory, we could do that with multipass. We couldn't do it with avatars because the contract for the avatars isn't upgradable and can't be changed. And we couldn't do it with gear tokens either. So it's just multipass that we could, in theory, do that with. Could you one day wake up and stare at a bunch of goats? Yes. And I'm very tempted to do that to you just for 24 hours for a laugh, but I won't. So, yeah, in theory, that would be possible, but probably not very nice if we decided to do that. I noticed that contrary to multipass and gear, the avatars contract is missing the verification thingy on Etherscan. Yeah, I know the reason for this. So when we rolled out the avatar contract, we made some last minute changes, and there was potential that we were going to make another change as well because of some of the gear token interactions. So we need to verify it. Good reminder. Thank you. We will get that done. Next, I assume a decision has been made. How much of the game should happen on-chain and how much on the server? Care to give us an update? Not 100%. This will partly happen as we go through the sprints and get all of this coded up. So what I will say, and again, this feeds into your next question, which I will read out before I answer it. So how's the tokenomics coming along? I'm not an NFT pro, but read and hear that various projects perform badly due to suboptimal token and or treasury implementations. And what other projects are you looking at that serve you as an example? So this is kind of three questions all tied together. So if we think about the owning and claiming of the token, there are two ways that we could do that. One is that the token is generated passively off-chain, and when you claim it, it is then passed into your wallet. So if you look at some projects, they actually make you stake your NFT. So your NFT is essentially moved from your wallet into via a staking mechanism into a different wallet, and that allows the staking to happen, and therefore things like tokens and so on to be paid. So the two ways that you can do that is that you do that on-chain or you do it off-chain. A good example of a project that does that off-chain, I would say, is Humans of the Metaverse. So the way that works is that your avatar generates you tokens passively because it's assigned a job when you mint it, but those tokens don't get transferred into your wallet until you log onto their site and claim them. So that means that you don't have to stake anything. It isn't kind of moved into like via a staking contract or anything like that. But what it does mean is that when you log onto the site and claim those tokens, there is a gas fee for you to claim those tokens and transfer them to your wallet. So there's positives and negatives to each of these. My personal feeling for what we're trying to do with Awakened is that it should be generated off-chain and then transferred on-chain at a time of your choosing. Now, the reason for that is there's a lot of mechanics that also go on with the game. So if we did everything on-chain, every single action that you take would have to incur a gas fee. Incur a gas fee. That's something that we don't want to do. Firstly, Alex in Oslo might hunt me down and kill me, because we know, if anybody's in Discord, everybody knows how much Alex loves gas and the ETH network. But also, it's just it's no fun. It's not the right thing to do. So the way that I view this is that we should do the kind of cool, fun stuff off-chain, but make sure that you have the opportunity to transfer things off-chain when you want to. So if you want something to be stored, you have the ability to do that, and you know that you can do that. Finding that balance is really tricky, and as we work through this, it will become clearer to everybody, including us. But we've got a lot of work to do there. Next question. I need some alcohol. 1 second. That's better. Has the crypto dip affected game development? No. When we minted, we took a reasonable amount of cash out because we knew that ETH was high, and we knew that we wanted to do that to make sure that we could pay people like developers, because sadly most developers don't want to be paid in ETH, they want to be paid in fiat. So we took enough out to be able to fund the project. So the dip hasn't affected things at all. We knew that could happen. Equally, we knew that things could spike to, like, ETH could hit $10,000 or what have you, so that there is a balance there. But we made sure that we had that kind of can't think of the right word. We had that security to know that we could pay everybody that we needed to. Next, nearly done with your questions, dude. So next, pesky internet people always want things for free. Could the art team maybe one day do a desktop wallpaper, or have the upcoming cities in a high enough resolution to serve as a wallpaper? If O'Hara's here, I'm sure his eyes would light up at that request, because he loves doing that kind of stuff. So in theory, yeah, absolutely. The art, the avatars as I see them, I'm going to rephrase this slightly. Are the avatars as I see them, or do full body drawings exist? So they're just as you see them. There isn't anything more than to the avatars than what you see. Okay, really good questions there. Made me think as well. I hope I managed to answer all of that properly. If anybody has any follow-ups to all of those, feel free to ask either in the AMA channel, or if you don't think it's for this AMA, then drop them into Discord and I will do my best to answer. The other thing I would say is there is no right or wrong answer to a lot of this. And, in an ideal world, when you're building a crypto project, you would have everything on chain. Because of gas and because of mechanics, it's not always possible. So we are trying to find the balance, and there's many grey areas. And like I say, there's no right or wrong to it. So we will always just try and do what we think is best and gives us the best chance of building something that is as fun and engaging and as cool as it possibly can be. And hopefully that makes it a success. Okay, next, comic, Hibiki. Will there be a mint cap on the first edition of the comic? I heard before that there might be second editions. Will there be an issue number 2? Eyes emoji. So mint cap, yes. We will time limit this. I'm not sure how long that time limit will be yet, but at some point in the future, and it could be a month, it could be more, we will stop the ability to mint the comic. Having said that, if you have a multipass or an avatar, then you have the ability to claim. So we're not going to say you can only claim there's only 3,000 available. Anybody who has a multipass or an avatar will have that opportunity as long as they get in early enough. And as to second editions, yeah, we would love to. The team that we're working with are not the cheapest team because they're really, really fucking good. So we need the funds there, and we need to keep things kind of moving and make sure that the game is a success for that to be able to happen. And also, we need to see the reaction as well. If you all love what we produce and you want to see more, then there's a much higher chance that we'll do it. If the reaction is, cool, that's great, but shrug, then it's less likely that it'll be an issue number 2. And we need that feedback. We need you to be honest. Like, where do we invest our time? Is it with the extras like that, or is it with something else? So keep talking to us. Keep telling us what you like. Keep telling us what you want. Next up, avatars, again from Hibiki. This goes back to some of the stuff we talked about earlier. So the character JJ has been getting some grief for his arm and shoulder. You said once that you might change some level 1 colours. Is it even feasible to improve the base avatar without excessive work being needed on other layers? So in short, yes, it is possible. Yes, there is work needed to be done on other layers. But yes, we're doing it. So it's O'Hara's definitely a perfectionist. But he was also massively up against it as far as time goes when we were trying to get all of these characters done ready for level 1. So there was definitely things that we would have done differently, and for want of a better word, possibly done better if we had more time. That's completely fair to say, and O'Hara wouldn't mind me saying that at all. So it is more work, but it's the right thing to do, and we're not scared of doing more work to make sure that we get the best possible result. And again, going back to things like colorization and so on, those are the other things that we're looking to fix. Next up, we have some questions on cities, land, and game mechanics. I like turtles. Me too. I like turtles. Is there a benefit of holding a level 1 avatar over a level 2 or further levels? Yes. And if I could use the eyes emoji, I would do. So there is something we're working on. We always said that we would reward people who minted a level 1 avatar. We are going to stick by that, but I'm not going to tell you how we're going to reward those people just yet. So yeah, we're working on the visual refreshes. That's fine, but we are 100% going to have a utility benefit to those level 1 avatars that were minted early doors. Not going to tell you how or what or when, but there is a benefit to that. So keep that in mind. Mikey T123. I understand there will be benefits to burning a multipass for an avatar at levels 1 and 2. Will there also be a benefit of hodling the multipass since October for the high levels avatar? Yes. Yes, there will be. Think of this on a sliding scale. So if you minted a level 1 and probably a level 2 avatar at some point up to now, there will be those benefits. At some point in the future, those benefits will then drop off, but you will have the ability to use those benefits to make sure that you get more out of certain things. But at some point, levels 3 and 4 will then be the stronger and more powerful, in inverted commas. I'm trying to kind of talk through this without giving away what we're thinking and possibly doing a terrible job of it, but which means that I haven't answered the question, but I also haven't given anything away either. So in short, yes, there will be massive benefits to holding on because you get level 3 and level 4. Next, Habiki. Can you give information on the gameplay? What will we do aside from politicking? I understand it will be largely text-based. I'm cool with that because I used to play in old school mud. Awesome. So, the way that this will work, there's a couple of parts to it. So we have cities as a starting point. So the ability to buy different blocks which make up a city. So if you have an avatar that sits in Tokyo, for example, you'll be able to claim. If you have an avatar, you'll be able to claim a single block for free, gas only, and then there'll be the ability for you to buy more blocks using the Awakened token. There's also the principle of your avatars doing things like kind of missions and jobs and so on. So that'll be something that you log in and do. And again, that will tie back into the token and tie back into some of the game mechanics as well. We're not going to release all this in one go. It was something that will evolve. And over time, there is also the potential for kind of a stealing and conflict element to come into this as well. So all of that is being built out, but we're doing it in phases because if we try to do it all in a single phase, we'll be here until August and you'll be sat there and bored and probably have disappeared and sold your multipass for a tenth of what you paid for it. So we're going to roll things out a bit sooner than that. But yeah, essentially we're building these cities, and there's the economies that sit behind them. Like I say, some conflict, and then governance and politicking and all of that kind of stuff. Will land and earning come before gameplay, or at which levels will the early multipasses be when land and gameplay start? So this is all tied together. Like, land is a part of the gameplay, and think about this as a blockchain-based Sim City from the 80s, maybe, or something like that. So the cities are definitely part of that gameplay. And it will kick in, like I say, we're trying to get something rolled out in February, doing our very, very best. Whether that happens or not, I'm not going to 100% promise, but cities are a big part of it. How much time is estimated to be required for each avatar to play? I've got more than a handful and wonder if I'll be able to play optimally with so many. Excuse me, I need some more drink. This is something that we've given thought to, and it's something I was chatting to Vortex about this week. We want to make sure that if you have every hour of every day to be able to do stuff, there are benefits to you being able to do that and to log in and play the game in inverted commas. But if you just want to log in every day or two, that's fine as well. So again, this is kind of, the amount of effort that you put in might change the pace that you can move and the amount of tokens, for example, that you can earn in a 24-hour period. But if you don't want to log in all the time, that's fine. So it may be that you decide that you've got enough time to log in, I don't know, every 6 hours or every 8 hours for one or two of your avatars, and the rest are more passive. That will be okay. We need to make sure that we get that balance right for you. So yeah, in short, you shouldn't need to get rid of any avatars to be able to play the game. But if you do have the time and want to play to the most optimum way that you can, the more time you spend, the more benefits you will get. My throat's going, so bear with me. Quadra Q, I would love more details on how cities will work. Will there ever be a mechanism to switch our avatar's city? Could be a very interesting mechanic. Also, what are the plans to incentivize and reward the minting of avatars from here on out? So we have talked about the ability to move between cities for your avatars. I need to make 100% sure this is correct, but there is the ability built into the contract to do that. Whether that's something that you could do with a contract change, or if we have to do it as admins, I'm not 100% sure, but it is something that we've given some thought to. So it might be that we need to do kind of a slight change to it to allow that to happen. Plans to incentivize and reward the minting of avatars from here on out. Yep, we have some plans. We know we know how that's going to work, but I'm not going to give any more detail at the moment. So all I will say is that there is a benefit to minting an avatar, which is yet to be seen. But the time that you do that, don't just mint because I've said that there is a benefit. It may be that you want to take the risk if you own multiple multi-passes and you're comfortable doing that. It might be that you want to wait and see. That's completely up to you. We've always been a little bit cloak and dagger, and we're doing that on purpose. But don't always listen to everything that I say because I might be talking rubbish. What rewards can we expect for playing the game? Any secret plans you haven't said anything about publicly yet? Yes, definitely secret plans. The rewards, like fun, token earning, a bit more fun, community. We're trying to build something that is all encompassing. So there's plenty of benefits to getting involved in the game. Alex in Oslo, regarding the land, will we be able to build on it or develop the asset in any way after buying it? In the short term, no. Longer term, could we potentially have upgrades and those kinds of things? Yes, that is possible. But right now, when you mint a block or a piece of land, that is your block, and that's what you get. And a big part of the mechanic is that we want to make sure that there is a good reason to buy and sell these blocks on OpenSea. So it might be that you are focusing on a different city, or it might be that some are worth more because of the utility that they have in the game. So then building in the ability to level those up gets more tricky. So right now, like I say, you mint a block. There are things that are on that block which affect the in-game utility, and that's it. There are no plans right now to be able to upgrade it. Chutzpah, lore questions. How much story or lore is planned? Will the game be like Shadowrun, where the story reveals itself via missions? I'd love to hear more of the game mechanics and the feel of the world when you're ready to share. Cool. Okay, so story and lore, lots of plans there. The writer that we worked with, who I've known for a long time on the comic, really wants to do more of that kind of stuff, and we also really want her to do more of that kind of stuff. The slight issue is that she decided to go on a 10-day writing retreat, which means that she doesn't have a phone or a laptop or the ability to contact the outside world for that period, so things have been a little bit slower. But I think she's back middle of next week from that, so we're going to pick that up, and it's something that Twicky has been banging on about for a little while as well and really wants to do. So yes, there will be more storyline, there will be more lore, that will tie into Twitter as well, because we know that's been way too quiet, so lots to do there. Will the story reveal itself via missions? In a roundabout way, maybe not quite like Shadowrun, but there is stuff that we're planning for the kind of jobs and missions and so on that ties back into the overall kind of feel and storyline of Awakened. So in a roundabout way, yes. And as far as the game mechanics go, when we are ready, we will definitely be sharing that, and hopefully sooner rather than later. Chamagil. On the website, you guys stated that you would make us think hard on burning the multipasses for avatars and have to make tough choices. I'd love to see more of what you mean. It's already there. It's subtle. You might not have 100% realised it, but it is already there. And if you've minted an avatar now at level 1, then you took a chance because you knew it was a level 1 avatar and you just wanted it. So fair play. If you haven't and you're sat waiting, again, you've made that decision. Same with things like applying gear or not. You've decided whether to do that or not. So those decisions are already there. We do want to make them more overt, and we want to make sure that you are more conscious of the decisions that you're having to make, which will 100% happen. But yeah, those choices are already there. Yang29, will you consider token drops in the future for long-term holders? When can we expect the full execution of the project? Token drops, the token will be released, and there will be a way to claim those tokens. Will we airdrop things to holders? I don't know. If the opportunity is there and the time is right, then yeah, absolutely. We haven't seen the right reasons to do that just yet. When can we expect the full execution? I don't think it's ever done. There was a really good thread on Twitter about this yesterday that I had some back and forth on. And there was the feeling, so somebody had run a poll which talked about how long do you expect project owners to be involved in a project, even if it's a complete failure? And something like, I will get this wrong, so apologies, but something like 2/3 of people basically said forever. Now, is that realistic for a PFP project that drops and does 150 sales? Is the project owner going to stick around forever? No, of course they're not. At some point you have to be realistic and say it's not worth it. Having said that, with our kind of project, we're building something that evolves and changes over time. So assuming that we continue to see the success that we have, assuming that we see the next phases then lead to more sales of multipasses and we get to that 10,000 plus the resale, there is no reason that we wouldn't move on from phase 3 to phase 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8. But it has to be financially viable. So, I've been running businesses pretty much since I was out of college or uni. And the way that I approach things is that it has to be viable as a business. I'll never walk away and I will never not put everything into a project or a business to make it a success. But at some point you have to know when it's done. We're nowhere near that with Awakened, nowhere near at all. Do I still expect us to be sat here in 12 months' time? 100% yes. Do I expect us to be sat here in 10 years' time? Honestly, probably not, but who knows? So, I don't think that the full execution of the project is the right question. I think expecting to see phase 3, that is the next step. So we need to roll phase 3 out, and once we get to level 4 avatars, if phase 3 isn't completed by the time we hit level 4, I'd be very, very surprised. But then we're on to phase 4, whatever that may be. Mintball, hello, hi. Will the city's artwork just be a 2D view of a specific city or a 3D land view like the Nanoverse project? So all of the blocks are being rendered in 3D. Does that mean that we will have a 3D world that you can walk around? No, not in the short term. Would it be possible? Yeah, definitely. So, at the moment it's going to be kind of blocks that you have, and we'll build up those cities. Probably this won't be from day one, but I know it's something that Vortex and Twicky both want to do, and I agree, is having like a map view of these cities so you can see the blocks as they're built out, and you can see who owns the different blocks that sit together. So that's something that we will do. But will we have an environment that you can walk around? Not from day one. Okay, where are we? Marketing and community. So Alex and Oslo, can you tell us more about the marketing, what and when? Same answer as always. We are 100% focused on getting the best possible product. Once we start to roll out token and cities and so on, that's when we'll get back in touch and speak to the likes of Crypto Gorilla, who I had a chat with this week, and Ryan D. Crypto as well, who I haven't spoken to for a while, actually. I need to go and say hi to him. we'll reach out to those guys who have been involved. There's plenty of others as well who've kind of grown their audience while we've been building as well, and push on the marketing. Should we try and push the marketing now? In my opinion, no. Like, why would we want to go really hard on marketing when we haven't rolled everything out that we're aiming to? So yeah, when the time is right and when we've got something to really shout about, like cities and game, that's when we'll hit it. Okay, we've got some follow-up questions now. So, Chachi, will the size of the team get larger? A small team working 8 hours a day will still be less productive than a larger team working regular hours. I think I talked about this on the last AMA. So, the way that I talk about things probably doesn't show the reality sometimes. So, yeah, yes, we work hard. Yes, we work long hours. We're not as small a team as you probably think. So you'll see certain faces around. So you'll hear from me. You'll see Twicky on Discord. You'll see Ahura drop in and he's doing the design. You'll see Vortex drop in as well. But actually, there's a much larger team that sits around us. So we have design support, we have dev support, which is growing. Given that we run other businesses as well, we have other support from people that we pull in as and when we need, that we've worked with for a long time. So although the core team is relatively small, we have a lot of people who are involved. So it's not as if we're working 18 hours a day on kind of contracts to roll them out. We are kind of efficient with how we work, and we try and spend time in the right kind of place. But if we need resource, we will always add that resource, and we don't shy away from it. So yeah, fair question. And it's probably something that I need to get a little bit better at how I talk about. But we're not probably quite as small as you would think. Lewis B, if I mint an avatar level 1 now, will I have that benefit? Oh, that's a good question. Yes, but possibly not the benefit, and I'm not promising this, so keep that in mind. Yes, you will, but possibly not the level of benefit that somebody who minted in early December would have. I think that's the right answer. Solarverse SBG, Azzy Inc. I want to let my daughter use the avatar to log into the game, but not sell my avatar. Whoosh. So to allow your daughter to... No, see, this is all wallet-based. And this is the same with any NFTs. So there's no way that I'm aware of to delegate different levels of access to different people for an NFT. It's quite an interesting product idea. But yeah, so the way that you would allow your daughter to do that is to give her access to your MetaMask wallet, which to me sounds terrifying. So think long and hard about that. And there's another question as well. Where is the land and which network? Right, so everything right now we are going to have on the kind of core Ethereum network. There's no changes there. If that does change, we will tell you straight away, but I can't imagine that that's going to happen. So it will be an NFT that you are able to mint. And that will be sellable on OpenSea and so on. I'm also just looking at I'm looking at the vault on Discord, and Cat Daddy's just said, "OMG, Len will be like Metaverse or Nanoverse with the eyes emoji, favorite emoji." Yeah, pretty much. Like Metaverse is a really good example of how we're thinking about this. It's definitely along those kinds of lines. So yes, in short. And again, over time that could evolve, but Metaverse is a good close example to how we are thinking about it. And I think that is all of the questions. So yeah, all good. Hopefully that covers everything. As always, if anybody has any questions, drop them into general chat or the vault, and we'll do everything that we can to help. But yeah, again, thank you for taking some time out of your day to come and listen to me ramble on. Hopefully you've got a lot out of it, but we'll be back. So I would say it'll be another 2 weeks or so until the next AMA. Hopefully it won't be 3. So yeah, hopefully we'll see you then. All right. Thank you again.